Samaran, guys. I was actually listening to Dr. Phil, and he said something so profound. Like, I've been sitting on this thought for the past like 5 days. Um, Dr. Phil says, or he said rather, would he talk to your kids about topics that don't matter? Talk to your kids about things that aren't important. And he carries on to unpack it around the communication and the effectiveness of communication and efficient communication. And one of the things that hit me is if you can't talk to your kids about things that if you can't talk to your kids about topics that don't matter, about topics that aren't as important, how do you think you can get to the point of actually talking about real challenging things? Because you guys don't have a communication channel, and you guys know me, and then I try and move it into other realms of life. You think of work. You and your line manager have nothing in common, or at least let me put it like this: you and your line manager have never actually found what you have in common. Therefore, because you don't have anything in common, you don't have things to communicate everyday things about. Shit hits the fan, it gets something big. Let me tell you a quick story. So I used to work for this other a digital advertising company in 2020, and the big boss, the owner of the entire company. So he owned the overall company, and it was like a stable where there were smaller companies, and I worked for one of the smaller companies within that bigger stable. And yeah, me and him are both KZN guys. He both Sharks fan, proper Sharks fan. And he then supports the Springboks, I support the All Blacks. And that was our banter. That's what we spoke about. When we saw each other, we just speak rugby, those topics. And it got to a point where we'd start sharing rugby memes on WhatsApp with each other. It got to the point where when there's a game happening on Saturday, he'd send me the team lineup, etc., etc. When it was Springbok versus All Blacks, we wouldn't talk to each other that week. It would always just to be that passive-aggressive type of, energy. We'd make bets in terms of six-pack, this and that. And I'm saying that because those nonsensical things really got me very, very close with this guy. This guy is a very, very high up, very important guy within the media structures. But that communication, through that nonsensical banter about rugby, he understood Uguti Upensin is a guy who's very, very loyal to the All Blacks. Whether they lose or not, he's a very loyal guy. That's a virtue. He understood, Uguti Pensin understands the dynamics of what makes a team great. I'd talk about players who don't get the ball but know how to work off the ball. Guys who were workhorses, guys that had grit, guys who had that krach, within how they play the game. And he understood because he's always business minded, and he's like, shit, this guy understands teamwork. He understands how to work even though you might not get glory. He understands how to put your body on the line, how to put your family, sacrifice. He understands it. And those are all the lessons that we picked up through rugby, through corridor conversations. He saw how I'd look. He'd like, shit, Penson's a sore loser. When his team, Penson doesn't lose with grace. And I was in sales. So for me, in sales, you can't lose with grace because that means you don't make commission. Your family doesn't eat. So you can't be like, oh my God, I lost. No, I'm aggressive. I'm competitive. And he loved that. And these are the little pick up things that the things rather that you pick up from these conversations. We can move this into your relationship, your romantic relationship. Again, if you guys can't have nonsensical, everyday mundane conversations where you guys are talking about the weather. Oh, my baby, what should I wear? I don't know what to wear. Blah, blah, blah. If you guys can't talk about, hey, Bonile Umkosi, hey, did you see Guti, this celebrity with that celebrity, this has happened. If you guys can't talk, when will it get to the conversations about politics? My love, which political party are we going to vote for and why? And have those robust discussions. When will it get to a point where you guys can actually start talking about real things, real challenges that you guys are facing? My love, I'm very insecure because there's this and this and this. The elephants that all relationships have in their rooms. When will you be able to discuss that? Because you guys can't even have everyday basic conversations. If let's look at it. There's two identical couples. The one couple, when they are together, they are just always talking about nonsensical things. They're talking about their day at work. They're talking about, oh, these shoes are a bit too tight. Hey, baby, look, I cut my hair. How does this hairstyle look? They're constantly conversating. Then the other couple, the one's on TikTok, the one's on Instagram, they're on their phones like this, yotach when they're next to each other. Who do you think will be better when it comes to conflict resolution in that relationship? Between the couple that's always just talking about mundane, everyday things versus this one that's always on social media. It's a rhetorical question. These ones who have a form of communication. Because even in that, you start learning certain tips. Okay, how can I approach my partner? Where is it that when we there's a line that maybe is crossed, maybe if I'm talking to my friend who's saying we're talking about soccer, I know that when Liverpool loses, I need to approach it with grace because he's not as how I am. He's a bit of an emotional Liverpool fan. So I need to be very graceful in things like that. I know when I'm talking to my mom and we're talking about family, I need to have a bit more grace because moms is very emotional when it comes to family. And again, we might be talking about nonsensical things. We might be talking about a jacket that she bought for my son. And if I say, I don't like that jacket you got for Zits, I know how it affects her. And that's just a jacket. So again, imagine if we were to get to real deep, real hard conversations. Guys, we need to be efficient in how we communicate. We need to be efficient. And again, how do you become good at something? By practicing it constantly. So if you want to be a better communicator, you need to be very conscious of your communication skills. And you can practice with the small things like any single sport, any single skill, the moment you practice. If you want to be better at maths, if you are right now watching this and you are, let's say, in matric, I promise you, even though you might think it's silly, but your simple arithmetic, I think that's what it's called, your plus, minus, division, multiplication, just your simple speed tests, just 20 minus 9, 9 times 3. Those constant speed tests, they will add into you becoming a better maths practitioner, if that's what it's called. The little things that you take for granted. If you are a rugby player, something as simple as just having a rugby ball in your hand, throwing it up, catching it, will make you better in the field when you're able to the little seeds that eventually grow and become a forest. Communication, understanding what hey, my partner today is a bit making sure when I talk to my kids every day in the car, hey, so how is this? And Dana's always telling me about this, and Matthew did this, and Usman did this, and and there's conversation constantly. So I know that the day they get into the car and there's no communication, I'm like, hey, Machita, what's happening? I know which is something is off because we normally communicate, and I'm like, okay, so what's happening with Matt? I don't talk about. Yeah, no, I'm busy. Oh, I know what's happening. So again, when you have hard conversations, maybe there's bullying at school. Because there's a constant line of communication, we are able to go from having these everyday conversations to a more challenging conversations. We are able to start talking about girls, start talking about boys. We are able to start talking about religion, able to start talking about politics because we constantly have communications. Everywhere that I've worked for or everywhere that I've worked with my life is I've been able to have those hard conversations about the LGBTQ community. I've had conversations about religion, about money, about conversations that people don't have. Why? Because I start off with the nonsensical conversations, the ones that mean nothing. Hey, I don't like coffee. I'm not a coffee guy. No, I drink it if it's there. How do you not like coffee? I only survive on coffee. Yeah, I like to drink this thing called Liverton or BioPlus, gives me the energy. Oh, you're always putting chemicals in it. No. Yeah. So where do you gym? I don't gym. Those conversations eventually get to a point where people actually get to the real thing. You find out your colleagues are Muslim or they're Hindu or they're Jewish people, or you find it out and you get sharp, and as you earn their trust through conversation, you know where to push and where to draw back, starting from the small things, just understanding where their moral compass lies in terms of when you're watching soccer, do you want to win at all cost, or are you saying, hey, that was an offside, that shouldn't have been a goal? Then you learn those little things. So when you can approach hard topics like a financial topic or again like a political topic, you know how to push it. You're like, hey, okay, this guy, maybe I shouldn't mention something negative about the ANC or the EFF. They might not appreciate the way in which I view this. So maybe let's be guided by them. Or maybe if I'm talking about something about the Middle East, let me actually, because this guy here is a Muslim guy, this guy is Jewish, they're not ready to have this conversation, or they choose rather not to. But I pick that up through the smaller mundane things. Guys, understand conversation or communication rather is a skill. So you constantly have to work on it. And again, no one is saying dive deep into the hard ones, because the hard ones are the hard ones, but talk about the small things. So when Dr. Phil said this, Yo guys, I even wrote it down. I was like, is that Dr. Phil? Not Dr. Phil, you know. But yeah, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to say about those about this topic. Guys, have conversations with your kids, have conversations with your partner, have conversations with your boss. You know, if you see Uguti Peter has a great relationship with the boss Yaku, it's because they're constantly talking about nonsensical things. They're talking about, did you watch last night's episode of Seven Milan? Did you watch Sunday's episode of Carte Blanche? Hey, did you see that there's a new Felty Schoon? Did you see that this rugby players? They're constantly talking. So that the day they have to lay people off, and there's junior staff, there's 10 junior staff, and he's one of the 10, and you guys are equal on performance, they'll never let him go. Because again, there's a relationship there. We're building a relationship through these constant conversations. So it's one of those things. Have topics, talk about soccer, talk about politics, talk about hairstyles, talk about nose rings. Talk. For me, the beginning of the end in any relationship is when communication starts breaking down. That's how I've always seen it. The moment communication starts breaking down, because this person is talking to someone, whether they're talking to people in terms of comments on TikTok, whether they're speaking to another man, Munduak is now talking to another man with whatever challenges, your employee is now, looking for a different job and now is on LinkedIn. They're communicating somewhere else. You want to take all those conversations and bring them back home and understand, with you guys, let's talk about this. Whatever challenges, I'm here to assist. I'm here to guide. You are here to guide me. Anyway, guys, please like, please subscribe, please comment if you agree, if you disagree, if you see things a bit differently. Please share this video, please share this video, and have yourselves a fantastic day. Shop.